Do you want to be a U.S. citizen? Hi, my name is Audra Doyle, and I'm the owner and attorney of Doyle Law in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, I'm going to share with you some key points about naturalization to the United States. The first point that I want you to know is you may already be a citizen. So please double check and you look and see, where were you born? If you were born within the United States, you should have a U.S. birth certificate. You're already a citizen. Next, check to see if any of your family members, parents or grandparents, are U.S. citizens, and you can check your age at the time those people became citizens. You may have derived your own citizenship without knowing it. So if you're sure that you are not a U.S. citizen, then it's time to file this form, the application for naturalization. And it is a simple form. It's 20 pages, has a lot of questions, but it is just one form. But there's a lot of places on this form which can get you. And let's talk about some of those. Number one, immigration will look to see how are you filing. Are you asking for 5 years as a permanent resident naturalization, or are you asking for the special 3 years as a permanent resident because you are married to a U.S. citizen and living with them in the same home? That's one requirement. Another requirement is that you have to have been a resident in the state where you are applying for 3 months at least. That will need to be documented. Next, immigration will move on and they will review your time spent in the United States versus time spent out of the United States. If you have been gone for trips that took longer than 6 months, you might have disrupted your continuous residence, and that's going to be an issue. Also, if you have spent more than half the time of the past 3 years or 5 years outside of the United States, you've disrupted your physical presence. You haven't been here enough. And so that definitely will cause a problem for naturalization. Now, moving on, towards the end of the application, I don't think I have the questions here, you will find a lot of yes and no questions. The questions are very broad. They cover a lot of areas. For example, it starts with taxes. Have you filed your taxes? Have you paid your alimony? Do you owe child support? Have you been a member of a military or guerrilla group? Have you committed a crime? Have you had immigration violations? On and on and on. And if you have to start saying yes to some of those questions, then you most certainly need to seek immigration counsel, because two things could be happening. Number one is you could be found to not have good moral character. Good moral character is where you're a good person, you follow all the rules, you take care of your own business, such as paying your taxes, paying your child support, and paying alimony if you owe it. If immigration finds that you do not have good moral character, they're not going to approve the case. The other thing that they're looking for are crimes and immigration violations, which could prevent you from naturalizing. So as you go through the yes and no questions, be very careful. If you have a yes in those questions, please contact an immigration lawyer especially. Now, at the end of the form, you will see some questions about selective service. And you should have selected no for most cases, unless you were a male that was between the ages of 18 and 26 in the United States with a particular status. So if you're one of those people and you did not register for selective service, that's another good time to call the lawyer. Okay, finally, after you get this form filed, the next thing you need to be aware of are the 3 tests that you will be required to take, all in English. Number 1 will be an English reading test. Number 2 will be an English writing test. And number 3 will be a civics and history test with 100 possible questions. That is a broad overview of U.S. naturalization. You have to be sure that you're eligible. There's a lot of places where people can find out they are not eligible. You also have to study for your test. I hope that this information has been helpful to you, and as always, if you need assistance, please let us know.